So hi guys, today we're going to have a look at another one of the Warjacks for War Machine. This time it's going to be another one of the Mercenaries, and it's going to be the Nomad. Now the Nomad's quite an old sculpt, and it's in my opinion, it's not a bad sculpt. If we have a look at the page in the book, it actually comes in a blister. This Warjack rather than the box. Typically the more modern sculpts come in the box. This one doesn't. So there's a look at his page in the Mercenaries book, which of course isn't necessary to play, but is always nice to have the art and a bit of a story behind it. Everything you need to play comes in the box, of course. So you get your stat card and you get your Nomad. Now this Nomad is actually one of mine, so it was already stuck together. So rather than showing you all the different parts for it, I've got it already stuck together in ink, so we can have a look at it and I can just go through them. So if we have a look here, the Nomad itself comes of course with the base. It also comes with two legs which are attached to a pelvis. They were reasonably easy to put together. I have to say, quite a nice fit. They were reasonably tight, so just a bit of putty and some glue into the join made for quite a nice tight join on the Nomad to give him a good base to build the rest of the model on. Admittedly, the rest of the model, he's actually really big. Surprising. I checked him against some of the modern resin casts, and he's about the same size. So unlike some of the other Warjacks that were slightly smaller, the Nomad's still pretty current in size and looks pretty good next to some of the other resin casts. His body unfortunately had a slight molding error in the hole connecting the pelvis to the body, so I had to drill a bit out just in order that the body would sit properly on top of the peg that holds it to the legs. That was just so that the glue wouldn't stop breaking. It was wobbling a bit, so whenever anybody knocked the table or anything happened to it, the glue and putty just fell apart. So after a quick whiz with the drill, that cleared it all out, and there was no problems at all. The arms were good, tight fits. They came separate, as well as the hands, which are also separate. They have a cup and ball joint, which can be quite delicate while it's setting. So a bit of putty, a bit of glue again, and just leave it until the whole lot sets, and you should be fine. This is being held together completely by putty, and it's a reasonably good fit. Although I wouldn't want to hit it with anything too hard. So the sword came separately. It's a massive sword. Basically, it's a good 2.5 inches, possibly about the same size as the jack itself. That hand with the buckler on it also came separate, and it has the cup and ball joint as well. So you can get a bit of play in that too. So you can angle it whichever way you like. On the back, we had his boiler and that huge chimney. The chimney comes in two parts. The top bit there is a separate part, but it was easy enough to glue on. It just snapped right in there. The boiler itself had to be held on again by a bit of putty. There's a lug that goes in from the boiler into the back of the Warjack that's to hold it on, but it doesn't have anything holding it on underneath. So basically the way I did it was I laid the Warjack flat in order to let the glue set before turning it upright, and it holds fine once the glue and putty have set. So let's have a look and see what he's like in the game. The Nomad is decidedly average. Mercenaries don't tend to have really powerful Warjacks, and that's part of the reason why I like playing them. Once you've been playing for a bit, it's a challenge to play something like this that's not quite as good as as perhaps some of the Warjacks that belong to the proper armies. If you get my meaning, Signar, of course, Khador, they're all standing armies in the actual Iron Kingdom's storyline. So the Mercenaries, of course, aren't. They're guys you pay to do jobs for you. So if we go across and just have a look at the stat line, you'll see 5, 11, 6, 5. So reasonably average for what you would expect for something from the Mercenaries line. I mean, an Ironclad, which would be the equivalent, if you actually look at this, it looks a bit like an Ironclad, which is the Signar sort of standard heavy Warjack. It looks a bit like that, but the Ironclad, of course, is slightly better. So going across, defense 10, Armor 18, not bad because of his shield, which gives him an extra 1. So he's 19. Just, you know, he's getting there when it comes to armor. He's gonna shrug off at least some light infantry attacks and possibly the odd attack from some elite infantry, perhaps. But other than that, I mean, he's reasonably average. The best thing about the Nomad, of course, is the fact that he has an open fist, so he has access to some of the other power attacks. His reach on his power 17 sword, which is always good. It means that his charge range is improved, and he only costs 6 points. Possibly that's the best thing about him, is simply the fact that he costs 6. He has no special abilities at all in the back. He's just sort of an average Warjack. I like them because they're good for filling up points in that sort of heavy Warjack category that you want to be using in my mercenaries force. For 6 points, I typically run him when I don't have Magnus the Trader or Magnus the Warlord, who in his place I would probably run a Renegade instead, because Magnus's Renegades are fantastic. The Mangler, of course, as well, is 8 points and arguably a fantastic upgrade to one of these Nomads, but we'll look at those later on in a future video. So, saying that, the Nomad, what can you say about him other than the fact that he's a good average Warjack? If you're running a mercenaries force, then for 6 points, he's going to fill up your allotment of Warjack points, and he can give out a good bit of damage with his power 17. He's also got his power 14 fist, so you know he's got a good 1-2 attack there. His damage boxes are okay. He doesn't have a huge amount of damage boxes. He's a good sort of average Warjack, and that's pretty much what he's there for. He's there to just be the mercenaries' go-to heavy Warjack. So that's been the Nomad. What do you think of them? Are they too average for your tastes? Do you like something with a bit more panache? Perhaps a Mangler? Perhaps the Renegade? What do you think? Drop some comments below and tell me all about it.